Hello, it is DrunkPicking Lawyer. Um, we have two locks, a master lock and a Brinks lock. Um, they are bad. They cost the same price because locks are a fucking scam. So the master lock, I don't know what packaging it was in. I bought it 2 days ago. It is a assuming four pin core, and then I bought a Brinks lock that was $11. That totes. It is high security, cut proof, 4 pins, and pick resistant. That is impossible probably for you all to read. So pick resistant is not the same as pick proof. Proof means that it can't be picked through, while pick resistant means it is harder to pick. While that may be the case on drunk picking lawyer, lock picking drinker or whatever. I have been messing with both locks recently, and I fucked up. Oh, okay, there we go. Look at a one, two's loose, one's loose. I think I fucked up again. Okay, I dropped my turner. This is from, if you would wonder, the turner and whatnot is from Fuck the New Guy, from the Fuck the New Guy set that they are selling at Covert Instruments. It costs $10 at the moment. I fucked up again. I think I'm placing this turner wrong, but you know. I also don't think I'm putting any pressure. So there you go. You only have to set pin 3 and pin 2 in unlocks. I think pin 3 is a security lock. Can't tell you which one because we're not that far in advance. So it took me about a minute, about 40 seconds of drunk wrestling it. Oh fuck, I dropped the turner again. So we're going to I only have one turner. It is a thin side and a thick side. The smaller one I use the thin side at the top of the keyway. I will place it. So I place it like so and turn clockwise because it is a clockwise chord. While the Brinks, if I whip out the key, it is a so like clockwise unlocks it, and counterclockwise unlocks it. So it is a multi-turn key, so if you lock it this way, it locks. If you lock it this way, it locks. It's for convenience, as the master lock, if I put a key in, this is the right fucking key. I'm pretty sure. Come on, go in. Cool, we'll try a different key. Key didn't fit, but cool, we'll try a different key. There we go. Alright. The key, firstly, is poorly made. It's made out of shitty plastic that you would find on a kid's toy. You put it in clockwise, it unlocks. Counterclockwise, it gives you resistance and you can't lock it, so it's only one way. It's not convenient. So if you're trying to lock it, you're gonna have to remember, if you put it the wrong way, you're gonna have to remember to put the key and turn counterclockwise if you put it this way versus this way, where you turn it clockwise, which in I it also just locked when it's locked, like shitty fucking master lock. Like I feel like I can make a better lock with my fucking hands tied behind my back. Cool. Well, let's get rid of some of these keys. Okay, so no more keys. We're gonna reset. I just knocked my pin thing on me. I have a blanket in my lap. So, lockpicking, drunk lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. This is not false advertising. Big turner in the keyway. We're turning it clockwise. I like to do always clockwise because I am dumb. I'm pretty sure there's a better way. And then there's top of the keyway, bottom of the keyway. Lockpicking lawyer goes, and then it's unlocked. But you know, we're working with um $10 here. So, but so because I have a bigger turner, I don't know how to explain it to you in a better way. We're working with about a half inch to a 3/4 inch, whatever. We're working with a very small zone between the bottom of the keyway, where the keyway tensioner takes about this much space, and here. So some people, if you put the key, thick end in, you can't get the first pin because with the tension or whatnot. So before you give tension, I put the pin, like the pick. We're referring to this as a pick. I don't know the proper term. I'm kind of drunk. The proper term of this is different, but we're referring to this as pick. You put the pick in, you already somewhat preset the first pin, because what we know, looking at the key, the first pin is very high, meaning there's no master key for it. It's a very high pin. All of these are very high pins, so we know that they're all going to be relatively set at the top of the keyway. That's poor key design, where you would want variable differences here, because, if they're all the same way, you can take a different turner that is in my living room, as I forgot to grab it, and rake it. So I guess it's called a rake. You rake it, and then it goes through. I have raked this lock a couple of times. I'm still trying to figure out that non-drunk technique, but you know. So we're using a pick. We're not using a rake, but that is how you would get around raking. Is that, well, in my belief, I'm not too sure about lock systems, but in my belief, if you take a rake and they're all the same variable, it is easier to rake than if there's like a deeper cut, where the deeper cut, like if you look at this, there is a deeper, there's higher cuts and then lower cuts, which would make raking a little bit harder compared to this, where the raking would be a little bit easier. But that's just a game theory. Shout out to my boy Matt Pat for making a very weird YouTube channel. Weird as in like good, not weird as in bad. It's not a criticism. So yeah, the lock's unlocked. So the way so I don't know, this lock is the 162-4201. I know Lockpicking Lawyer has worked with the 6000 series, which is a little bit more secure than this one, but my belief in locks is you're only as good as your cheapest lock. So this lock is the cheapest one I could find from Brinks, and this is the cheapest master lock. That's easy to unlock. I just kept fucking up. This, relatively, I wouldn't say it's easy. It took me a lot longer to figure out this lock than the master lock, due to a couple of things. But um which I know you guys can't really see much. I don't have a top-down camera, so I fucked up my regular camera. I also just got a false set. So we're gonna give it another shot here. 2 set and it's unlocked. So relatively, what I believe with this lock, they did put security pins in. Can I tell you what kind of security pins? No. It is not a, I'm just gonna refer to it as a wafer lock where it's wavy. There's not a wafer pin because there's no false, clicks. I think what they put is a pin kind of like that, like a sideways H for pin 3. So if pin 3 is not properly set, 2 never falls down correctly. 1 is just the instant binding pin. 1 just is the first one that you want to do, ergo why I press it down first, because 1, it gives you access to the full keyway, and 2, it gets you through. So yeah, I am going back to drinking tonight. If you're wondering, we're drinking Jim Beam. I think they sell a cherry version. I hate myself and drink Jim Beam instead of, fucking something better. Crown. If you're gonna drink, just drink Crown. It's worth the money. Or let's not approach. Do not drink under the circumstance that you may have a problem. Reach out to the alcohol hotline, which is 1-800-662-4357, or 1-800-487-4889 if you think you have a drinking problem. I currently do not, because I drink very rarely. I just thought I would make a video on cool hobby I picked up and thought it would be somewhat funny to show how much you can learn in 2 days and do whoa completely fucking smashed, which just shows how shitty these locks are, because all set, because again, like I said a couple of minutes ago, I think that a lock company is only as good as their cheapest lock, because 90% of the time, people are going to buy the cheapest lock, because it's cheaper than, on things that don't relatively need the highest security. And most of the time, they're funding directly from schools, high school, middle schools, elementary schools. You go to things like the public pools, or place like water parks or whatnot, and you rent like one of their containers, and they give you a key. And I've seen some, especially in Florida. I don't know why it's specifically Florida, not to call it Florida, but specifically they put in master locks and Brinks locks or whatever. And you would think that you had to pay like fucking $20 to use some of those things. And somebody with, I spent $10. Let's spent $10. I got this, a rake that's in my living room that I'm gonna grab, a turner, and a clear lock that is pretty fucking cool. That sadly, um, unlocks with just the turner and doesn't need an actual key. Which I wish that they put at least some minor, security pins in there, or like to have a little bit of practice. Like I get it. Why not? Because it costs a little bit more money. I would have spent the extra $5 for this to have, security pins or, variable springs or whatnot to give you like this would have been a good intro. You know, I feel like if you're going to have an intro that's relatively cheap, make the springs variable, make something variable here, so you have to practice. Because if I practiced on this, it would have made doing this easier. And doing this easier would have made this easier. Which, in return, this will make us other things easier. Because if I spent $10 on this, like the whole set. I had to spend $10 on this alone. Like the lock alone. You could have bought cheaper locks. I could have. I didn't want to buy just like a 2-pin lock. I wanted to buy a relatively normal lock. Sure, this one's 10. This around the same price. I think this one's like $9. This one's like 11. It's not a minor difference. But if you're inviting somebody into the hobby, make where the cheapest option that you're selling to for the new guys has the ability to be a learning experience. Sure, this could be I walk up to my friend and go, here's how locks work, this is what a lock looks like, and then, blah blah blah. But if I went, okay, well, locks, you don't put a turner in and it unlocks. That's not how keys work, because if I'm showing one of my friends and they go, "Oh, well, try and unlock it," and then I put a turner in, it unlocks, and they think that's how they're going to get a false sense of how locks work, where the normal man isn't going to sit here and buy these things and then unlock them. So they're going to get a false sense of how locks work. Most of the time, locks are really made to deter people from getting into your stuff. Deterring is different from preventing. If you really wanted to prevent it, you would you know there's non-legal things I could talk about in a YouTube video, but if you wanted to prevent something like that, you would have better security that isn't specifically just a lock. You would have videos, or not videos, you had security cameras, you would have alarms and other visual keys that a lock wouldn't be able to provide. Now, there are locks that are, there's no keyway, there's like ID locks, but those kinds of locks are way more expensive. They're about $300 for a door. And 90% of the time, people like me who live in a dorm cannot change their locks, and they get things that are relatively cheap. Someone could break into my apartment, and I couldn't fucking do anything about it. But because a lock exists, it deters. And I think that when you make something very simplistic that can be unlocked like that, and it's supposed to be representing what a lock does, it can give a false sense of what locks actually do, which is a whole I know that's like a major complaint over something that's relatively cheap, but I feel like that is a major oversight where you are informing the general public how to lockpick, but in return, someone may be going into this not fully understanding that there are relative issues with locks outside an extreme, because sure, most of the people who are buying covert instrument tools are lockpicking lawyer or other individuals, viewers, where they can they watch the videos, they understand how locks kind of work and understand how easily they're broken into. And of course, like 90% of the time, the people breaking into things aren't sitting here lockpicking. They're sitting there, destructively breaking and, kicking in doors, or, um, breaking windows, and not specifically sitting there trying to lockpick. But in return, with how mental health is in the United States at the current moment, I think being able to alleviate some anxiety around the security of homes as best as you can. I keep getting it on false sets. I think it's at this point just me being idiotic, but um but yeah, if you can alleviate some of the stress about, household safety, I feel like it is better to do so than I don't want to say, lie to people. You're not trying to lie, but you're trying, like, of course, lockpicking lawyer and other lockpicking channels are really information on how locks work. At the end of the day, it's not, sure, they'll shit on lock companies like Master Lock because they deserve to be shit on. But at the same rate, they're informing people of what security flaws look like and whatnot. However, I feel like there needs to be a secondary step when doing so about anxiety towards what a shitty lock looks like and what, you know, I like, let's say I sit here and I'm really good at skateboarding. I do a skateboarding video and without really relatively explaining the difficulty of skateboarding, people think that skateboarding is relatively easy, which it's not. I've tried to skateboard. I have actively skateboarded for a while. But doing so, which I am fucking up with this lock, which defeats the whole purpose of this conversation. But with okay, we're just gonna there we go. Okay. So, if I make a video about skateboarding and just say, oh, it's very like, not really show how easy it is or how hard it is, people are going to get in this false sense of I can do it syndrome. Which I feel like as a content creator, which I am very obviously not, as I am making a drunk video about lockpicking. Um, I feel like as a content creator, you have to be very willpowered towards being relatively understanding of educating while also educating on the craft while also educating on the difficulty of said craft. Because if you go look at lockpicking lawyer and he sits there and locks a lock in a minute, or like me, who just started learning, unlocks a master lock in 30 seconds in front of you, it's going to relatively make you feel less secure at home and relatively increasing your anxiety levels, trusting, your security system, making you go out and buy security cameras or changing your locks to one that's more expensive, when in reality, that's not what you need to do, you know? And am I saying that there are gullible people out there who watch YouTube videos? No. Am I saying that there are people who take things at very face value? Yes. There's a difference between gullibleness and just believing in things. It's I like how once I reset, it worked. So, um, it's not that there are gullible people or people who just genuinely believe whatever they see. But whenever you see a security flaw in something, like if I sit here and make a video about how my keyboard has a security flaw in it where it connects to the internet, like your cell phone. If I take my cell phone and be like, "Oh, my cell phone has this issue," people with the same type of cell phone are going to see a security flaw and start freaking out and want to change phones or whatnot. That's not an issue. That's not something that's irrational. If I sit there and tell you your car has a chance of exploding, you're going to have some concerns. So if I sit there and show you something like a lock that goes, it unlocks, even though it is not advertised like that, but I know it's not advertised like that because I bought it, I read the description. But if I go show my friend, this is how locks works. There's pins, there's pin stacks, there's the key way, there's the key turner, there's the locking mechanism, this and that, and I forget to tell them this is a test lock. This isn't made to look like a real lock. This isn't made like a real lock. And I turn it and unlock it like that. You're gonna see all locks kind of like that because this is very there's no like if this said master lock and it's not going to, but if it says master lock and it's clear like this and they do that, they're not going to trust master lock, which isn't an individualized issue because then they're just going to buy Brinks because they think Brinks is safer. However, because it's generalized, it's going to affect all kinds of locks and security like that. Why did this turn into a review about we're gonna restart.